Gemini, final warning from May 23rd to May 25th. Someone whose name begins with the letter P is secretly blocking your success and your money. Have you recently felt that your mind isn't as sharp as it used to be? Ideas that once arrived like the wind now come more slowly. Decisions that once felt effortless are suddenly weighed down by hesitation. And at times, you catch yourself asking, what's happening to me? Why is it that, despite all your efforts, all your thinking, all your striving, it still feels like everything is being delayed? If you are a true Gemini, or if you carry strong Gemini energy in your birth chart, then you'll understand exactly what I'm about to say. Every ounce of luck in your life begins with the clarity of your mind. Once your mind becomes clouded, every door temporarily closes. Not because you're incapable, but because the guiding energy that flows through you has become disrupted. And sometimes, that disruption doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from within, from a name, a memory, a person you still think of as familiar, harmless, or insignificant. That person could be a friend, a former lover, a family member, or simply someone whose name starts with the letter P. Now, not everyone with a name that starts with P is a threat. But if hearing that letter causes your heart to flinch, if a face or a memory suddenly surfaces, then you already know this message isn't random. It's a sign. Between May 23rd and May 25th, the Sun enters a zone of interference with Neptune, the planet of emotional illusion and intuitive confusion, and for Gemini, a sign that lives and breathes through intellect, this is especially impactful. This cosmic clash between light and fog can subtly disconnect you from your inner compass. You still hear, but unclearly. You still feel, but uncertainly. You keep moving forward, but without knowing whether it's in the right direction. And in that hazy zone, if someone named P still exists within your energetic field, they could be the one quietly holding the key that drags you back into your old cycles of hesitation and delay. They don't need to do anything dramatic. Sometimes, all it takes is a gentle suggestion, a seemingly caring question, a message that stirs memories from the past. Or perhaps just a glance, a voice, or their presence in the exact moment you're about to make an important decision. And suddenly, you pause. You overthink. You fear. And once again, you step back. In Buddhist philosophy, this is known as disturbance from exogenic streams of thought, when you can no longer distinguish which thoughts are truly yours and which have been silently inserted by someone else's influence. When that happens, you begin living a life that no longer belongs to you. Gemini, if you don't recognize this in time, you won't just lose ideas, opportunities, or financial growth. You risk losing something far more essential, your core directional self. This message does not come to frighten you. But it also doesn't come to soothe you with soft words. This is your final warning. And if you're watching this between May 23rd and May 25th, then understand this: the universe never sends a signal by accident. This is the bell. This is the light revealing your blind spot. And if you keep moving forward with your eyes still shut, you'll enter a prolonged cycle of inner suppression that may last until the end of the year, a period where everything you do will feel like a repetition of nameless delays. And if you're still holding on to the image, the words, or even just the lingering energy of someone named P, then I invite you to pause. Sit down. Make yourself a cup of tea. Light a white candle. Because from this moment on, you are no longer just watching a video. You are entering a ritual, a journey of energetic disconnection, of deep awakening. A realm where Gemini is no longer misaligned from the self, no longer manipulated by the eyes that know exactly how to silence you. Right after this, I will help you decode the influence of P, the real reason you keep holding back just before your breakthrough, and how to restore your sharpest, freest, and most decisive state as a fully awakened Gemini. If your heart just touched something real, tap like to mark this energetic shift. Comment, I choose my mind, or leave a symbol if you're ready to cut the ties that have been gripping your thoughts. Subscribe so you never miss a single message the universe sends at the perfect time, just like this one. Because Gemini, you weren't born to live in doubt. You were born to see clearly, to know deeply, to move freely, with the light of your own mind. Emergency warning for Gemini. Gemini, you are someone who lives through ideas, breathes through words, and creates entire worlds with each movement of your mind. But when your very mind becomes still, clouded, tangled, hesitant, no longer responding the way it used to, that is not a flaw. It is a sign. And during the 3 pivotal days from May 23rd to May 25th, that sign is not coming from within you. It is being sent through an energy that is entering gently, quietly, almost invisibly, yet powerful enough to distort your entire internal thought field. This is the moment when the Sun forms a square with Neptune, the planet of illusion and the subconscious psyche. And when this alignment occurs, especially for those who carry Gemini energy, it doesn't strike with events. It slips in through words. Through thoughts. Through phrases that sound like your own voice, but in truth were planted by someone else. And that someone, more likely than not, carries a name that begins with the letter P. P could be an old friend. An ex-lover. A family member. Someone who always seems to be near whenever you're on the verge of making an important decision. And somehow, you postpone again. They don't need to say much, just one line. Do you think that's safe? Or, I'm not sure this plan is solid. Or, maybe you should think it over. And suddenly, you, once quick, decisive, precise, step back. Then another step. And then you begin to doubt yourself. Buddhist philosophy calls this exogenic delusive thought, thoughts that aren't yours but that you believe are. And from that point on, you begin to live a life that is no longer true to your essence. You begin choosing not from clarity or desire, but from fog, a fog that someone else has silently cast over your intuition. For Gemini, this is more dangerous than for any other sign. Because you hold the key to language. You generate ideas. You are the one who inspires others. But once your mental realm is clouded by the lingering energy of someone you haven't yet released, you begin to lose touch with your inner compass. You'll keep doing all the same things, the job, the conversations, the motions of your life, but you won't feel truly alive within them. And that, Gemini, is the beginning of a long shutdown cycle. Silent. Slow. But persistent. And if you are still allowing P to appear in your life, even just as a message, a call, or a thought that stirs you at midnight, then know this, you are being manipulated. Not in a cruel way. But in a passive way, a form of emotional karma left unresolved, causing you to respond the old way even though your soul is ready to evolve. Astrology calls this an emotional field out of sync, when two individuals once shared a bond, but only one of them grew. The other, afraid of losing the connection, unconsciously pulls you back into their comfort zone. It's not intentional. But their inner fear transmits frequencies that make you hesitate, worry, and overanalyze. And for Gemini, that is the Achilles heel. Because your gift is rapid perception. But when you overanalyze, you'll think forever, yet act on nothing. That is why, if you are watching this video between May 23rd and May 25th, this is no longer a reminder. This is a wake-up call. The universe would not highlight the name P unless it was time to stop. Stop holding someone in your mind longer than they deserve to stay. Stop using kindness to maintain a thread that is quietly dimming your light. Baba Vanga once wrote, at the end of May, one bearing a letter from the middle of the alphabet will repeat the cycle of tethering a twin-headed mind. And there is only one zodiac sign represented by two heads, Gemini. This is not a coincidence. This is prophecy. A soul fragment is resurfacing, not to hurt you, but to ask one last time. Will you sever the tie? Or will you go back again? So if what I am saying is touching something deep within you, please don't ignore it. Don't rush to explain it away. Don't defend P. They don't need saving. And you don't need to carry them. What you need is to return your mind to yourself. Let your thoughts operate once again at their original frequency, the frequency of clarity. Let the words you speak be untouched by foreign energy. Let every decision you make, whether monumental or small, rise from the light within you, not from the aftershocks of an old memory. If you felt this truth in your heart, take one simple but powerful action. Tap like to confirm, I've heard the warning. Comment, I release the noise, or drop the symbol as a sign that you are stepping out of the fog. Share this message with another Gemini, someone who may still be stuck in a frequency of distortion they haven't yet noticed. And subscribe, not to follow, but to find refuge. So that every time you feel yourself wavering, you have a place to return to, a voice that reminds you of your own. Because Gemini, you were not born to be led by other voices. You were born to lead with the brilliance of your own mind. Prophecy and karmic connection. There are people who enter your life not to stay, but to reflect the darkness within you, the darkness you once dared not face. They do not arrive with storms, nor do they leave with screams. They come quietly. Slipping into your heart like a familiar phrase, an old gesture, a presence so gentle you mistake it for safety. And then they stay. Not through action, but through a feeling. A feeling that haunts you just as you approach the edge of an old limit. They become part of you, but a part you are not meant to keep. A part you are meant to release. And on the path Gemini is now walking, that person, the one you are meant to release, carries a name that begins with the letter P. P does not need to be someone who clearly hurt you. In fact, it may be precisely because they were once kind, timely, tender, that you've held on for so long. But holding on to a soul that no longer matches your current frequency is the fastest way to veer off course from the mission that awaits you ahead. The Buddha taught, not everything that was once right will remain right. Not everyone who once loved us is meant to walk with us to the end. And for Gemini, what exhausts you most isn't the choice itself, it's the endless thinking about someone you've never truly named for what they are, a burden. In one of her recently decoded diary entries, Baba Vanga wrote, "When the light of the sun is blurred by a layer of mist, one whose name lies in the middle of the alphabet will arrive, not through footsteps, but through thought. They bring no gifts. They bring memories. And if the twin-souled spirit does not sever the thread, they will be trapped in a 6-year cycle, repeating the old, just dressed in something new." Gemini, the twin-souled spirit, is exactly whom she meant. And P, the one who stands in the center of the alphabet, is appearing now, just as your mental field is being distorted by Neptune. P doesn't mean harm. But their energy, whether through a message, a photo, a birthday wish, or a moment when their name flashes on your phone, is enough to reopen an unresolved code in your memory. And that code? It does not belong to this present moment. It resides in emotional karma, from this lifetime, or perhaps from one that came before. That's why you can't explain the feeling. You no longer love them, yet you still think about them. You don't need them, yet you react each time they reappear. You've grown, yet you feel small again when they're near. That isn't love. That is a karmic thread that has not been cut. In ancient astrology, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet of intellect, language, and connection. But when Mercury is disrupted by Neptune and Pluto, as it is from May 23rd to May 25th, your mental clarity will not function as it should if you are still carrying an unclear energetic link. P is the transmitter of that signal. You don't even need to speak to them. Just thinking of them is enough. And the energy you've been building begins to scatter. The vision you were about to write becomes hesitant. The next bold step you were preparing to take falters. This is not just emotional. It's cosmic. And it's happening now. The words you were about to speak get edited. And the most dangerous part is, you won't even realize it. Gemini, you are not growing weaker. You are being pulled backward, not by hands, but by invisible layers of thought. There are people who no longer need you, but still hold a piece of you within them, simply because they are not yet ready for you to outgrow them. There are those you've released outwardly, but internally, you still play the role of adjusting yourself every time they appear in thought. And spiritually, that is a form of agreement, an unspoken vow to hold on to karma. The Buddha said, only those who have not forgiven still grant others the right to live inside their minds. And sometimes, forgiveness is not a word. Forgiveness is an energetic act, when you no longer pause mid-step each time they appear. When you no longer say, but they were kind, to justify keeping their shadow alive in the garden of your mind. Gemini, you carry within you the power to lead with intellect. But if that intellect is constantly fogged, distorted, pulled off center by things you no longer even believe in, how can you continue to shine that light for others? You cannot teach freedom if you are still bound by an invisible thread. You cannot create a new path if you keep looking back each time P resurfaces. This is a sacred moment. This is your time to rewrite destiny. But you cannot write on a page still stained with old ink. You must burn it. And in the next part, I will guide you into that ritual, not through words, but through deep energetic release. If you are ready, tap like as a vow of alignment with your soul. Comment, I release P, or drop the symbol to signal to the universe that you have seen the thread, and you are choosing to cut it. Share this video with another Gemini, someone who might still be trapped in that field of interference, without even knowing it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Not just to follow, but as a sacred act of commitment. From this moment forward, I reclaim my mind. Because Gemini, you don't need to apologize for walking away. You only need to know. Some souls were never meant to stay. They came to teach you how to finally let go. Energy unbinding ritual for Gemini. If you've made it this far, then you are no longer the same person you were when this message began. You have seen. You have remembered. And most importantly, you have recognized. Recognize that you've lived for far too long within an energy field that no longer belongs to you. That you've allowed P to live inside your mind, in many forms. A phrase once spoken. An emotion once planted. A memory you thought had faded, but still rises each time you're about to take a bold step forward. And you are tired, not because of them, but because you've kept them far longer than necessary. Gemini, you are intelligent. And precisely because of your intelligence, you've often asked yourself, am I just being too sensitive? Am I overcomplicating this? But I want you to know this. The soul never gets it wrong. When something inside you hesitates, becomes blurry, or delays, it is because a layer of your inner energy is being occupied. And no one can return it to you except yourself. That is why right now, we will step into a ritual, simple, yet profound. Not to cast spells, but to reclaim your mind. To make space for new ideas. To clear the stage that you've unknowingly let P stand on for far too long. Find a quiet space. If possible, perform this ritual in the evening between May 23rd and May 25th, when Neptune's energetic influence reaches its peak, and you most need to reset before the astrological gates begin to close. You will need a white candle, or if unavailable, one in cream or pale yellow. A blank sheet of paper. A pen. A small ceramic or clay bowl. Sit down. Turn off all distractions. No music. No notifications. No flickering lights. Just you, with yourself. Close your eyes. Place your right hand gently over your chest, where your central light resides. Place your left hand over your lower abdomen, where your intuition and primal self rest. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Inhale once more. And exhale. As if you are releasing every thought that was never truly yours. One last time, inhale light. Exhale everything that no longer fits who you are becoming. Now, open your eyes. Light the candle. Take the paper, and write that person's name, or simply the letter P. Then, beneath it, write this sentence. I return all thoughts, emotions, and beliefs that were ever influenced by you. I do not blame. I do not resent. But I no longer keep you within the field of my mind. If you wish, you can write more. Words you've never spoken aloud. A hidden anger. An unnamed pain. Or simply a feeling you've been forcing yourself to forget. Write, it doesn't need to be beautiful. It doesn't need to be correct. It only needs to be true. Write until you feel something loosen inside of you. Then, fold the paper gently, not forcefully, as if you are wrapping a memory, not to throw it away, but to return it to its rightful place. Bring the paper to the candle's flame. Watch the fire. Watch it burn, not in anger, but in release. Whisper within, or say aloud, if you feel ready. I no longer think for you. I no longer live in ways that make you comfortable. I choose clarity. I reclaim my mind. When the paper has turned to ash, you may let the ashes cool and blow them out a window, or return them to the earth. But the most important moment is this: take a long, deep breath and whisper one final truth. I return to myself. And from now on, only I decide who is allowed to live in this mind. What will you feel after that? Maybe lightness. Maybe sadness. Maybe emptiness, or simply silence. And that silence is sacred. Because your mind, for the first time in a long time, is no longer being disturbed. No longer interfered with. No longer adjusting itself just so someone else won't be hurt. This is your original state, the place from which every true decision is born. And right after this ritual, I invite you to take a concrete action to affirm the shift. It doesn't have to be big. It only needs to be clear. It could be rewriting a plan you once abandoned. Sending that email you kept hesitating on. Declining a meeting that no longer serves you. Or simply staying silent when they message you. You don't need to explain. You just need to choose, and move forward. Because Gemini, when you cut even one thread in the mind, you don't just free yourself, you free your future. Opportunities stop being blocked. Ideas stop being drowned. And destiny is no longer written by a hand that once made you doubt your own. If you've just completed this ritual, or if your heart has simply shifted from within, tap like to mark the turning point. Comment, I return to my clarity. Or leave the symbol to resonate with thousands of other awakening Geminis. Share this message as an act of passing the light forward. And if you haven't yet subscribed, do it now. Not just to follow, but as a vow. I will guard my mind with light every single day. Because Gemini, you do not need to apologize for letting go. You only need to know, the time has come for you to become yourself, fully and completely. The gateway of destiny, rebirth for Gemini. When the flame is extinguished, when the paper has turned to ash, when the space around you falls into an unusual silence, that is not an ending. That is a beginning. Not the start of a new chapter, but the rebirth of a soul that has awakened. And if you are a Gemini, then this moment is not just personal. It is a turning point in destiny. From May 23rd to May 25th, a rare energetic portal opens across the global astrological map. Not everyone can see it. Not everyone is light enough to pass through. But you, Gemini, the one who just reclaimed your mind, the one who refused to let the past write the next chapter, it is you who holds the soul light enough to cross that gate unburdened. This energetic portal has no name. It is not located in the sky. It lives inside you. It is the moment your mind stops resisting. When you're no longer pulled off track by an old memory, a concerned suggestion, or a familiar face you tried to keep close, simply because they once understood you. Rebirth, in truth, is not about learning something new. It is about stopping exactly where you once got lost, and moving forward again, without asking anyone, which way should I go? Gemini, you once believed you needed more knowledge, more experience, more permission. But no. What you really needed was silence. A silence deep enough to hear yourself again. A silence not stirred by names you once considered part of your identity. And now, you've created that space. You've released every residue that made you tread carefully, rewrite your words, or live smaller, just to keep someone from feeling left behind. But let me tell you something you may have forgotten, while trying to please everyone else. You were born to lead. Gemini is not a follower. You are the symbol of intellectual pioneering, of the questions that push humanity beyond its borders. So if you keep waiting for others to be ready before you move forward, you'll stay in a room you've long outgrown. From this moment on, the astrological current shifts. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, begins to anchor light ahead of you. And once you have cut the noisy thread named P, your mental field will begin to open again, like a flower blooming after a long winter. You'll start to hear clearly what you thought was long forgotten. A childhood dream. An impossible idea. A half-written plan you once abandoned. Everything will return, not as a burden, but as an invitation. And that invitation does not come from anyone else. It comes from your highest self. That soul is now whispering. Go now. There is no one left holding you back. And the most miraculous thing, you'll no longer feel guilty for leaving someone behind. Because now you know, true love never asks you to shrink. True love never asks you to mold yourself to fit someone else's limits. True love is when you walk forward, and they smile. And if no one smiles, let it be you smiling to yourself. Because the light you've just reclaimed doesn't need applause, it only needs to live. Gemini, I know you've been the one who compensates. The one who says sorry, just to keep the connection. The one who stays silent to avoid conflict. The one who dims intuition just to be understood. But if you keep those habits now, you'll miss something enormous that's coming. Not just wealth. Not just opportunity. But the complete return to your prophetic, sacred self. Do you remember those ideas that once burned so brightly you couldn't sleep? Those words that flowed effortlessly through you? Those decisions that came like pure intuition, and were always right? All of that is returning. As long as you don't go back. Don't reread the old messages. Don't replay the advice that made you doubt. Don't repeat old reasons to keep someone who's no longer meant for this journey. Now, do one thing for yourself. Something very simple. Write down one thing you've been putting off because of P. Just one. And within the next 72 hours, do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be true. Because that single action will activate the entire flow of new wealth, intelligence, and intuition within you. The gate is open, but only for those who act. If you felt this, tap like to affirm, I have stepped through. Comment, I stepped through the gate, or leave the symbol to resonate with thousands of other Geminis who are being reborn. Share this message with someone you know, someone still living in a mind that's being interfered with. Someone who needs a way out. And if you haven't yet subscribed, do it now, not just to follow, but as a ritual. From this moment on, I walk with light. And I will never again let someone else live inside my mind. Because Gemini, you don't need more. You just need to let go of what is no longer you. And when you do that, nothing can stop you from becoming what your soul was born to be. If you are still here, if you're still quietly following every word, then please know this. You are no longer in the place where you began. The journey you've just walked, from naming the shadow, to calling it by its true name, to burning the old connection and stepping through the gate of rebirth, was not a video. It was a ritual. A soul passage. A silent, but deeply powerful transformation that happened within you, without needing anyone else to witness it. Gemini. You have quietly cut a thread no one else could see. You have released a name that once lived silently in your mind. You have stopped asking for permission. You've stopped shrinking, just so someone else could feel comfortable. And by your own action, even if it was as simple as writing a single line, you have reclaimed your most sacred right. The right to think. The right to feel. And the right to choose, by your own will. You may not see anything change right away. There may be no light beaming from the sky. No fireworks to announce your freedom. But if you listen closely, a new stillness is growing inside you. A space in your mind where someone else's voice used to live, is now empty. And that emptiness, is where the light can finally enter. You'll begin to notice the return of ideas. You'll feel a new current of inspiration rising, for no particular reason. You'll start making decisions more swiftly, more clearly. You'll sense the difference between your true voice and the fading echo of someone who once made you hesitate. And you'll smile, not out of triumph, but because you feel light. Light in a way only someone who's carried a heavy weight understands. The value of a single, unburdened breath. From this day forward, Gemini no longer lives to be understood. You live to understand yourself. You no longer need to rewrite your words to fit someone else's comfort. You write because you carry the soul of a wisdom source. And if someone can't keep up with your pace, that's not your fault. And you are not obligated to wait for them forever. This journey has not asked you to forget anyone. It hasn't demanded that you erase the past. It has simply asked you to stop letting the past define your future. You have the right to remember, but not be held. The right to feel, but not be pulled. The right to be true, and let others carry their own emotional responsibility. That's not selfishness. That's growth. If this resonates with you, if you feel like you've just returned to an older, clearer, more original version of yourself, tap like as a private signal to yourself, I have come home. Comment, I reclaim my mind, or leave the symbol Gemini as a light for other Geminis still one step behind you. Share this message with someone you once saw yourself in. And if you haven't yet subscribed, do it now. Not just to follow, but as a promise. When my mind goes dim, I will always know how to return to the light. Because Gemini, you no longer need to live your life explaining. You no longer need to prove you are light. You are the light. And from today forward, no one has the right to dim that light, except you.